Hey, what's going on, guys? We got a special guest here today. We have Baz Porter. It's his second time on. He's got a story, and it's one of resilience, growth, and unwavering dedication. With over 15 years of high performance coaching, a British Army veteran with a decade of experience, Baz has developed the RAMS method, a unique approach to addressing the internal struggles of high achievers. His mission is to lead you out of the shadows of burnout and depression and into a life of purpose and fulfillment. So, Baz, I ask you, how has resilience showed up in your life? How has it been somewhat of your superpower?
Thank you, Jordan, and it's a pleasure to be here today with you and serving your audience. Resilience for me was an interesting combination of finding a willpower beyond that willpower. You being a marathon runner, there is something in your area of expertise of running, and you hit a wall. In life, we hit walls all the time, and it's digging deeper within yourself to find that extra edge to to go further than anybody else is willing to go. Resilience is built up over time. It's like a muscle. It doesn't just happen. But with resilience, it shows up in your life every single day. If you're a parent, you've got to be resilient to take care and nurture your children and family. If you're a spouse, either side, you've still got to be resilient and open to listen, be compassionate. So resilience is much more than just a single word. It's a way of living life. It's a constant battle between the mind where it goes, I'm going to give up and just go and sit on a couch with a box of crisps and watch a soap opera all day, or choosing to get up and move forward with a mission, with a dedication to not to yourself, but to serving others. That's what resilience means to me.
Yes, yes, so good because the thing is, the way you described it and the way you've explained it, I was meeting with a client yesterday and I was explaining to him about compound interest in finances. And everyone understands that because the numbers go up as you have longer time, higher interest rates. And the thing we don't realize is this same compounding, this same resilience happens in every aspect of our life. Whether it's physical fitness, whether it's parenting, it's just harder to gauge on some of those because it's not as easy as business where it's, hey, we made more money. Great. In life, it's I guess we're happier, or this moment I might be happier. So, how did you gauge resilience and what were some of the things you had to overcome?
My own self doubt was the major one, the imposter syndrome that really shows up within not just high achievers, but everybody. We have that voice in the back of our head going, you're not worthy, you can't do it, it'll go wrong. And then your brain takes over with a load of excuses. And that's what normally controls humans. It's when we re engage with our true self, our soul aspects, and we say, actually, someone else's thought. That's an imprint of my family, or when a version of me when I was a child, or a version of you when you were unaware of these things. But they come up in every aspect of us. And it's learning to understand the difference between brain talk and really digging deep and going, actually, I'm capable. I am, this is possible. And I am not just worthy of it, but I'm worthy of so much more. A colleague of mine, she's a phenomenal leader. She said her thing is, and yes, and not but no. And she was a ballerina, she was a dancer, and then she went into conscious leadership, and she's done very, very well. But that is yes, no, oh sorry, yes, and is a powerful statement when you start to use it in an environment where your brain is going, you can't do that. No, you're not capable of that. Oh, you're going to fail. And then reframing, noticing it first, and reframing each part of the limiting belief systems that we all have. But it builds, like you were saying, compounding earlier, to do it regularly and building that muscle of, I did it once, I can do it again. Oh, that's come up. what I also found was naming that aspect of me.
Oh,
So
wow.
I named him, and I think it was Patrick. And that Patrick came forward, I told him to sit down. We'll have a conversation later. I'm doing this now. So, like jumping out of an aeroplane, if you've ever done a tandem parachute jump or anything like extreme sports, there's a part of you come forward and say you can't do it.
Yeah.
And Patrick, go and have a word with yourself. I'm gonna have a conversation with you later. I'm doing this now, and it was
Yes.
reinforcing that and identifying that I am capable, I am worthy of this, and I'm not going to listen to the noise outside of me, other people, and the variables. And equally, I'm not going to listen to the voice inside of me limiting myself, which I know is something is capable. And compounding that into resilience, into that worthiness of going, it's done, I'm doing it.
Yes. And this is one of the reasons I love being the host of this podcast and having people listen to the podcast is that you brought up two amazing points. One is that you named yourself out. We should all find ourselves out because it's inside of us and we handle it each and every day. And then the other part is the environments we're in. When we're around different people, it causes us to think differently. And that's why I love this, is because this is an empowering conversation. You become a higher version of yourself. When you're listening to this, you're rising up. But there's sometimes when you're in environments where people are like, oh, you shouldn't do that. Baz, don't even try. You're never gonna achieve that. And we've all heard that so many times, and it's enough to battle with ourselves, but let alone battling with others. And those others could be loved ones too, and they don't intentionally do it. They try to protect you, but sometimes you got to go for it, and you got to
And
prove that
it,
it's possible.
it's very true. I mean, yesterday I was having a conversation with somebody, and I'm going to speak about this a bit later, but I'm preparing something at the end of March. And she went, "This is very ambitious." And then I told her a story behind it, and she was like, "Holy shit! Wow. Okay, I'm on board." But until that point, she didn't get the whole concept of why it was actually taking place and the messaging behind what people do. For instance, if you look at Rams and people think of Rams and go the team or the car, but it's
Yeah,
more than that. It's not just a brand for me. This is a way of life. Rams for me
yeah,
stands for results, attitude, mastery, and systems. To get somewhere, you need a result. You need to know what you're aiming for. That will constantly change. Then you should look at the attitude internally and your attitude towards objectively situations and
yeah,
reassess that and reevaluate continuously. Mastery is a continuous basis of that and learning to elevate not just oneself, but the business, the different aspects of that. But the last and final one is the systems. Systems can be things from relationships to automated systems to learning a new skill. There's so much vast quantitative and quality aspects of a coaching. It doesn't just mean it's coaching, having a conversation. These are actual systems at work. So when we look
yeah,
at the aspect of leadership or resilience, these are simplistic words, but there's a lot more depth behind them, and meaning of them is different to everybody in these environments. A marathon runner has a resilience. A tennis player has grit and resilience, but it means different things to different people at different levels.
yes. And that's why it's so important whenever you're speaking to anyone to understand the context of what does resilience mean to you, Baz? And that's what we started off with. And then it's what does leadership mean? Because if you guys aren't on the same page, words have limitations. And we know that. So if we don't understand what the other person's trying to say, then we're both technically right, but we're struggling with what we're trying to accomplish. And the other thing I wanted to bring up with Rams is I think having directional awareness, this is something I've been getting into a lot, and I think the audience should take this away. You should have directional awareness on where you want to go. So you might not know the outcome, or in this case, you might know the result like that you want to achieve, but you have to know the general direction. So are we trending in that right direction? And then it's also the incredible thing that you brought up was that the conversation you were having with that woman or that client or whatever it was, people don't understand you unless they understand your context and what you're trying to get across. Because they might see someone, and that's why we shouldn't judge people right off the bat. We have to seek to understand, and then we can make a decision whether it's, hey, they're good for me or they're not for me. And that's okay too.
I love what you said then. It's about understanding somebody or something, a situation. But I would like to go one level deeper, and that's having an inner standing of something. Understanding is the conscious level and an intellectual level. If you go into the inner standing of something, take a text message. It can be misconstrued, but a physical conversation, whether it be by phone or by virtual or in person, isn't as easily misconstrued if you're
Yes.
clear with an intention. A text message and a writing, a paragraph or LOL can be misconstrued in so many ways. So having clarity on something, on a situation, on a person, on a voice is key to the outcome. It's not just, oh, this is where I'm going. This is where I want to get a rough estimate of what I want it to build. If you want to build a business, what business do you want to be in? What business are you really in? And who do you know to help you? And are you prepared to ask and be vulnerable and authentic?
Yes.
Most people will go, I want to build a business. And they're like, I want to get loans. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. But there's other ways to do it.
Yeah.
And it's asking these questions. Hi, I'm doing this project. I really don't know what I'm doing right now. I need a bit of help. Are you willing to spend a bit of time with me to mentor me, not coach, because there's a huge difference, mentor and help me learn so I'm not making the same mistakes as other people have done. Now, I was humbled doing this, and I had to
Yeah.
go and ask people to help me level up my game. And now, because of I'm able to go to someone, say, look, this is what I'm doing. I need help. I'm unsure of the direction. I'm unsure of the components. Can you help me understand this so I could implement it at a much higher level? Learning to be humble and ask with integrity and honesty. Hey, I messed up. And like the other day, I was speaking to you before. I went to put a website live and I lost 28 pages. And it wasn't the fact that I lost a page, it was the incompetency of myself and the lack of knowledge in the structure I was using to save and move the pages over to a different system that was the ultimate failure of that aspect. But I learned the lesson. And now I can do that. I can, in future, if I have to go through a similar situation or advise somebody, I can say, swap them over to landing pages and save all the content,
Yeah.
everything. So you're not repeating the process.
And the biggest thing here is that we're all lifetime learners.
Yeah.
So it's not that someone suddenly understands something and now it's all complete. There's levels and levels and levels and levels and levels, and it's constantly a growing game. And it's how do we get our small wins to continue that growth so that we don't give up and we keep that resilience inside of us because there's a lot of times in life where, I mean, right now, it's difficult. People are challenged.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of people that are like, I want to give up. I want to be done, but you're here and you can't. So what should these people be doing? What do you think would be valuable for these people to find out?
A lot of people who are challenged with the focus of where they're going or living, and in some cases, they lack an awareness of their purpose, or they've forgotten why they started something. Coaches do this all the time, business owners, entrepreneurs. There's a book from somebody that I know called Dr. Greg Reed, and it's titled 3 Feet from Gold. And the concept of the book is simply people fall short of their goal, their direction, the riches they're aiming for by about 3 feet. And the reason they do it is because they think that they haven't got any more. And then the brain takes over and says, like we were saying earlier, you can't do it. There's no point in doing that. And you start believing what the brain starts telling you. And then you lose sight of your purpose, you lose sight of direction, and ultimately you become sad. You envision yourself less than you actually are, and then you start making excuses, procrastination, of why you can't do something. I can't get up in the morning, I don't want to meditate, I don't want to build a business, I don't want to get on a sales call, and you make up reasons why not. But then I say to people in that situation, what if? What if you could be that difference in somebody's life? What if you could make that phone call today to change their thinking, and you don't know what's going through that person's mind? They could be contemplating unaliving themselves. It can be that serious. You don't know what's happening behind the scenes. So if you're showing up authentically, you're showing up compassionately with empathy and love, and not judging people like you were saying earlier, think about that as a purpose. Not just
Yeah.
finding yourself and building something grandiose with lots of money, a Lamborghini and a high-rise apartment in downtown New York. That doesn't mean success. Showing up for somebody and spending time listening to them is the difference between saving someone's life sometimes and them not being here tomorrow. It's that simple. I've been in situations like that where I've had to find reasons not to unalive myself. And the reason I've done that is because I had to dig deep, and I realized that this isn't just it. And that's selfish. How can you be compassionate and self-serving at the same time? You can't. So you've got to rise higher and listen to people, understand their world before making a judgment of somebody, because that judgment, as we were saying earlier, is misconstrued sometimes. Learn to listen, learn to be compassionate and empathetic towards situations that you don't understand, but learn to understand them. Ask elevated questions. Why are you here? Are you really okay? If you ask any bloke, any male that, yeah, I'm fine. It's a go-to answer. Most high achievers are not fine because they are so snowed under with other people's views of them and family pressures and work pressures and staff and leadership. The amount of questions that I get asked is in my coaching sessions, how do I diversify with a team? How do I make my team go faster and harder? You got to know the team first. You've got to know what they want and then provide a source of ambition for them. It's not
Yes.
about money. It's not about we'll give them a pay rise and we'll give them more hours. It doesn't amount to more progress. But if you can
Yeah.
drive someone's inner thoughts, if you can influence them positively in an impactful way and say, what about this? And
Yeah.
if a worker has been working for you for 5 years and so all of a sudden they're showing up late, they're unshaven, or their clothes are unironed. Before that, 6 months they were on time, pristine, all the deadlines met, whatever they're going on. Something changed in their life. Sit down and have a conversation, not an interrogation. Just say, hey, I've noticed a few things. You're not in trouble. This isn't going to reflect badly on you, but I really want to understand what's going on. Can you help me understand so I can help you? It's a different conversation rather than going in there and saying, you're late, da 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 da. This is a warning because you're pushing someone back into a corner and they're going to retaliate in some way. It's not going to elevate them. Have a
Yes.
conversation.
And the ability, it's just so good and amazing how you changed the paradigm and like what success actually means. And what a lot of us don't realize is that it's that deep conversation with someone. It's that compassionate conversation. And when you were saying that, it made me think about during the holidays this past year, I did send out these voice memos and I spent out like 750 of them. And my thought was, it was me sitting there because it takes each of them takes like 10 to 30 seconds and then you got to ponder it and then how do you personalize it and you're thinking about it and it made me realize I would look at someone's name and I go, are they worth 30 seconds slash on an even bigger scale, is their friendship worth the 30 seconds slash even bigger, the holidays are really tough for a lot of people, so is this 30 seconds going to move the needle for them? And when you think like that, I think everyone should pause the podcast right now and send 3 voice memos to people they love because it's always, oh, we don't have time. I'm tired. I'm this. Because you can get on a phone call, and I did it 3 times yesterday, where you get on a phone call with a friend, you're on for 45 minutes, an hour. It's a lot of time. If you send a voice memo that says, hey, I'm really proud of you and I'm really grateful for you and I appreciate you, it takes 15 seconds. They feel 100 times better. You conveyed something, so you're in a gratitude state. It it moves everyone, and it's that human first element that you were talking about in the workplace and even in the friend place, because there's so many times where we don't treat work. We try to be these different people in work where we're machines and we're not. We're humans first, like Baz was saying. We have to understand that and not forget that component.
Love what you said there about we're humans first, because the moment you recognize that we're all the same and status isn't defined by how much money you have in the bank, what clothes you wear, these are all versions of personas or identities that we have. You said it earlier, we show up in work in a different person than we do at home. But what if we could start showing up within an authentic self and be that true self all the time without so much judgment? That's a hard thing. It's a very difficult statement to say. But if we practice gratitude, get in the habits of mindfulness actions. So mindfulness doesn't mean just going into meditation or staying in a quiet place. Mindfulness is just what you did. Understanding someone else's world, showing compassion and gratitude for them in a message. That message, if you do it 3 times a day and you randomly text or voice memo somebody 3 different people every morning. Hi, I'm really, really grateful for you. I haven't heard from you for a while. I just wondered what you're up to. Do you fancy having a conversation? That changes someone's world because it's having the time to go above and beyond what everybody else is trying to do and send a quick text message, send an impersonal email, send a DM to somebody. If I'm DMing somebody for the first time, or even a friend that I've not spoken to for ages, I will send either a voice memo or a video message. Hi, just thinking about you. Hope you're doing okay. How did your holidays go? Let me know. That's it. Doesn't have to be anything more than that. But that thought, that action has a ripple effect for that person. They may pay it forward. Oh, bloody hell, I feel wanted again. I feel as if I'm thought about. How many people wander around the streets in their world, in their own little worlds, going, no one cares about me, my wife hates me, my kids scream at me. I've got a
Yeah.
failed business, blah, 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 blah. They don't realize how special they are. They don't realize the impact they have in others people's lives because they're not reminded. And they're walking around in this identity that they've created, which is limiting their aspects and their contribution to the world.
Yes. It's so good because the other thing that a lot of people don't realize is you do three a day, you're going to hit 1,000 people. And the other thing is you can't, you can only focus on what you can control. You can't control everything. So out of those 750 I sent, I probably got half responses. Half people never responded back to me. However, I did this the year before, and I even sent it again to people who didn't respond to me the first year. I got responses immediately going, Jordan, so grateful. Can't believe I missed this first message. You're the man. You have to understand that people are busy and stuff happens. So don't take it personally. And the other thing is that it's reciprocity. You're going to get it back. So you're going to feel good about what's going on. Because it, like we have to give, it's the giver's gain. The more we give, the more we receive. And it's a good circle that happens in life. And it's okay to get ripped off sometimes. It's okay to leave an extra few bucks. And those might be compliments you leave to people who don't respond. That's an extra few bucks on the table. Good. I'd rather have goodwill with them than not.
Yeah. Well, it's the same as not just at restaurants. If you take it to home, how many deliveries do people have per year? Amazon, FedEx, etc., UPS, all of these companies, the staff have families. The staff work sometimes 16, 12 hours a day, 16 hours, some even more, just to put bread on the table at home. How difficult is it to leave a box outside with some snacks, healthy snacks, some hot chocolate if it's winter, or water, something that's going to change their life, or even if you feel inclined and you know they're coming, just put $10 and say, really, in an envelope, thank you very much, really appreciate you. And I know it's cold outside. At the moment it's minus 17 here. Stupidly cold. But that changes someone's day. If you leave a cup of hot cocoa in a flask and say, fill your boots, help yourself, chill out for 5 minutes and have a drink.
Yes.
That changes their world. That means something to them. That's not just a text message. It's being conscious of the values of somebody else. That
Yeah.
changes lives.
Yes. And it's an outsized gain, but it also raises the level of society, right?
Mhm.
You do that for someone. You don't think the next person they go to, they're going to be a little bit nicer, a little bit kinder, a little bit this. Like you are the ripple effect that you're looking for. We all have to be the ripple effect and we all have to take accountability for making that transition. Now, I know, Baz, you talk about leadership and you say that there's a transition going on in leadership.
Yeah.
What are you seeing?
So a lot of the ways of leadership in not just the entrepreneurial world, but in the corporate world are changing. It was more of a dictatorship. You will be there, you will be doing this, etc., etc. And there wasn't compassion with the conversations. There wasn't understandings of if we nurture our teams, if we can say, okay, what do you really, as I was saying earlier, what do you really want? Because, and Gary Vee speaks to this, a 21-year-old doesn't want the same things as a 30-year-old. A 30-year-old doesn't want the same things as a 45-year-old. The dynamics change as we grow as people. So the constant elevation and evaluation of your company and the evaluation of your staff, your workforce, you work for them, not the other way around. As a leader, you work for your employees, because without you, they don't get to put the nice things in their families. They don't get to feed themselves. They don't get to go on holidays and trips and do all the things that we take for granted as leaders because we're in a position of authoritarianship within that company. The leadership style was do as I say, not as I do, or you will be here on time. Now that's changing. Now we have remote workforces. We have people going in with self-education in the workforce, and it's changing the way business is done, not just on the micro but on the macro. I look at over here elevated views of companies, but when I go into them, I want to know every single detail, not just about their stats and the finances and marketing and sales and where they want to go, vision, etc. I want to know their workforce. I want to know their staff, and I want to do an in-depth analysis, something called disc assessment, with all the staff, because they may be in the right company, but in the wrong position. And without an analysis on that person using disc and other methods, I don't know if that's the case. They may have a passion for graphic design, but they're doing copywriting. How does that work? They're not in where their passion is. So you drive their passion, and you will ultimately raise the workforce standard just by changing one thing.
Yeah.
I had an interview yesterday with somebody. He's going to become a client, and he's done he runs a PR company for multiple very big corporations and outward clothing. I can't say which ones.
Yeah.
And he was like, I'm bored of what I'm doing. I need a new challenge. And I was like, okay. But he told me his life and where he got to where he is now. He's very successful. But his next challenge in life is going, I don't want to be working in the business. I want to be working on the business in a remote place. I want to sit on a beach in Mexico and enjoy what I'm doing again.
Yes.
But he's lost the touch of his purpose and where he's going to.
Yeah.
He thought until yesterday he reached a limit in himself and he got
Yeah.
bored, complacent. So his leadership level was at capacity, but then all of a sudden it's gone to a different level because he's spoken to someone with a macro view of a knowledge that he didn't have. And all of a sudden he's got a spark back.
And this is why one of the things I found is that most of us, we end up talking to the same 7 to 10 people, whether it's friends, whether it's coworkers, that ability to expand. And again, one of the favorite reasons of the podcast is that I'm allowed to talk to other people. It's actually encouraged. It's part of the process. And like you need to find ways to speak to other people or just listen to other podcasts, listen to other conversations, because like Baz just said there, expansion comes from conversation. Expansion can also come from listening to conversation. However, it's super important, super important to get a wide range of friends, family, colleagues, so you're getting a holistic perspective and you're not just stuck in your bubble, which I find a lot of people end up living there.
Yeah. What I found in mine, to add on to that, is be willing to put yourself in uncomfortable situations. Because sitting on a couch watching a soap opera is cool, but after a time it gets very uncomfortable because you're asked you need to move, you become stagnant and you become complacent. But if you're challenging yourself, I've done this, I'm sure people listening have as well. I've walked into rooms and gone, I'm in the wrong room. I'm just in the wrong room. I don't feel as if I'm in an elevated crowd and I'm a teacher in the room rather than an equal or I'm learning. I want to be learning. I want to have that growth. And having the awareness of, okay, what can I learn? But equally, what can I give? What can I teach or give a reference to that's going to elevate the person? This podcast is gold for that. I mean, there's so many people come on here with so many different aspects and different knowledge sets. I don't know everything, but your podcast is great because you have so much diversity. Business owners from different backgrounds, different ways of thinking, different concepts. These people pay literally thousands and thousands of dollars obtaining this knowledge. But if you start putting yourself in the elevated rooms and walking out of the rooms that are no longer serving you and being confident enough to go, I'm done. Thanks very much for the opportunity, but I shouldn't be here. Don't snide at them. Don't make them feel bad. Say, look, I'm sorry. It's a personal thing. Love what you're doing, but this is not for me. And have the confidence to walk away. Stand up for yourself. Elevate your ambition, your internal clock. Then the things will follow.
Yes. And you could also reference that it's a season of your life.
Yeah.
Like it's a season for me to move on, whatever that may be, because Baz does make off an incredible point where I actually had a friend who reached out to me. His boss recommended he go to Toastmasters. Now, I was going to the same Toastmasters in 2019. COVID hit. I did it virtually a little bit. Decided it wasn't for me. Wasn't loving it. I recommended my friend to go back to that same group because the same guy's still running it. He's like, literally one of the highlights of my year was doing Toastmasters because I wake up Wednesday morning because he's doing a mostly remote job. And he's like, I get to speak and people get to hear what I'm saying and I get critiqued and I get compliments and I win things. He's like, I love it. And it's not that one's good or one's bad. It's just everyone has their season. And it's okay to go into new activities that might serve you differently. Now, what I mean by that is recently I signed up for Muay Thai. I know nothing, very little about Muay Thai. However, I signed up. I even did some one-on-one stuff with the coach, and it's been awesome because it touches on so many different areas where you start to understand your body better. You start to understand the way you think about things a little differently, and it's challenging in a different capacity. Now, does that help my business? I don't know. Probably. It's probably more productive to do that instead of sit and watch operas
Mm-hmm.
and on the couch
Yeah.
because you're getting out there and you're doing something different and you're learning. So it's not saying that you just have to learn about different stuff in business, but it's sign up for a class that you've never done, do an activity you've never done, and find the right energy in the room. So as you bring that up, as I know you have an incredible event coming up, Phoenix Voices Summit. And this is getting in the right room. So talk about that.
So the concept of Phoenix Voices is about elevated leadership, resilience, and overcoming challenges. And I wanted to provide something of immense value to an audience willing to invest in themselves. So this isn't just for everybody. This is for a person or persons who are willing to go the extra level. And it's about personal stories of, these some of these leaders have spoken in, I think, 197 countries, 96 countries. They are world renowned. The access to them, to get one-on-one access, you're paying literally tens, if not hundred thousands of dollars. So I've connected with these people and I've said, I'm doing this, and this is the first of a series of them on the macro. We're going to take us to different states. I was having a conversation 3 days ago with a person, I can't mention his name, that runs events in the AT&T Arena in Dallas, Texas.
Wow.
We're already in talks for end of next year for holding an event there at the macro level. But I wanted to try it on a very micro level virtually before I start inviting people and sponsorships and doing all that jazz. But it's really about getting through to up and coming entrepreneurs, business owners, younger business owners, the next generation. Go, look, these, yes, it's difficult. We get it. But, and it is possible. These people have come literally from, like myself, $7, nothing, growing multi-figure businesses, being on stages, showing up for other people. It's not just an element of a certain class of people. These people are, I mean, they range, some of them in Canada, some of them are in the States, some of them are speaking from the UK, Mexico, Australia. These people are world-renowned speakers. I'm not going to mention the list just yet. That will be coming on the announcement very shortly on a LinkedIn post, live. These people provide services and value beyond anything that I've ever heard or seen. And they've been influential in not just my life, but many, many other people as well. And I asked them to come on and say, can you share your story? Can you help someone understand that the journey where you are now isn't the end? They're very successful, but they weren't always successful. And they built businesses literally from nothing. There's a certain speaker on there that actually broke their spine in 4 places, quadriplegic for years. That person now is fully functional, walking,
Wow.
and has spoken on stages in at least 3 continents.
Wow.
And he only takes 7 clients maximum per year. So that'll give you some idea of his level of leadership and what he does for people. There's a person on there, another one who went through a horrific divorce. She's got kids, and now she coaches people who are in this 9 and 10 figure range.
Wow.
But she came from nothing, a broken home. She was brought up very devout Catholic in Utah, I think it was, Chicago, one of them anyway. And then she made a life for herself outside of that, discovered her authentic spirituality, and then learned business skills, development, and all that. And now that's what she does with her clients. But these people came from nothing. She realized she was laying on the floor of a basement one day and she had an epiphany. I don't want to be here. And then that was her turning point. It took time, but these stories aren't just stories. These things change other people's perceptions and lives. And that's what Phoenix Voices is all about. It's about you hearing other knowledge that you would normally pay. This is a very real number, hundreds of thousands of dollars to receive from these people if you're trying to work with them individually. Now, how much is that worth to you? How much is that knowledge going to be worth if you can then understand it and then not only that, apply it? This is what this is about.
Yes. And I just want to harp on this that whenever anybody comes to me, or when I think about any of these opportunities where it's like, do I want to invest in this? Is this something that's going to move the needle for me? The thing is that you have to realize that there's a lot of people who go bankrupt. Like there's a lot of people that go to zero, but they don't lose their knowledge.
No,
That's why every time they go to zero, they can come back up. They don't lose their knowledge, they don't lose their connections, and they don't lose their skills. They might have had a mishap and something might have changed. But for you, I'm just saying, if you're listening, whoever's listening, it's super important to realize that you're investing in yourself and you're listening to things that might take you out of that dark place or might inspire you on what is possible because it's priceless. And that's why I try to get incredible people like Baz on my podcast week in and week out because it moves the needle. It changes the way you think about what is possible. And I appreciate you, Baz, for even creating this space or even having the foresight to think about this on the micro and the macro, because it's going to change lives.
My whole thing is about paying it forward. I can't ever expect anybody to know everything, but my knowledge and my experience through many different walks of life, through recovery, through mindset, through business, through the resilience, isn't my knowledge. And it would be selfish of me and anybody to think, oh, it's mine, I'm going to keep it. Because that knowledge you have, that spark, that experience may be the difference between somebody else in the future of changing their life, of making a difference that will change the course in somebody's life, that they may become president or a leader in their industry and have a bright idea 80 years from now, and you've been the catalyst. You've
Yes.
been that change.
And the toughest part about that is that you might never know that. You might never know you're the catalyst. You just have to believe and hope that the work you're doing is impacting lives positively. And that doesn't mean that you have to be a coach. That doesn't mean you have to be an entrepreneur. That's anybody in the world, whether you're going to the grocery store and the old lady needs help bagging her groceries. It's the little things that are going to make this earth a better place and a more human place. So that's what I want to leave you guys with is how to become more human. It's do the human thing, help the people, do the right thing. And Baz, where can people learn about this? Obviously, I'm going to throw everything in the links in the show notes, but where can people learn about this?
So I've just released a new website, and it's been a while in the making, about 2.5, 3 months. You can go to rams at bybaz.com, or you can reach out to me on LinkedIn, and myself or one of the staff will get back to you. And just send us a message. We're open to communication. And this journey is not about me. This is about your future, your kids' future. And my whole thing is about live with purpose and inspire with legacy. And maybe we can have a conversation about that, on that call if you want to reach out to me. And I hope to see you at the event. Jordan's going to be there as well, speaking in his expertise.
Absolutely.
It's an honor to have him a part of this. Thank you for
Uh,
listening. And this podcast is just another way of communicating an authentic message. So I want to thank you, Jordan, as well, for showing up for business owners, entrepreneurs like myself, and providing this platform for others. Thank you.
Thank you.